Check 1 2. Test test 1. Check.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We would like to start the meeting, call the
Buenos
meeting
días
to
a
order.
todos. Vamos a
Recording in
comenzar.
progress.
Identify your
Por favor, consigan su asiento.
let's get ready to start the meeting.
Bien. Y vamos a comenzar dentro de poco.
Hello, good morning.
Buenos días.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, please may you take your seats. Please take your seats. We'll soon be calling the meeting to order and starting the proceedings. Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to welcome you all to the 28th Council meeting of ARENA. My name is Gloria Magombo. I'm the Secretary for Energy and Power Development in Zimbabwe. Under item 1 of the provisional agenda of this meeting, I declare the 28th meeting of Council of the International Agency open. I would like to extend my gratitude to the Director General, Mr. Francesco La Camera, and the Secretariat for the continuous assistance over the last Council meeting, as well as our host country, UAE, for their hospitality and facilitating the necessary arrangements towards the convening of the council meeting. Before proceeding, I would like to inform you that the media intends to cover the opening of the 28th meeting of the council. Do I take it that council approves these arrangements? Thank you for your agreement. This concludes the consideration of item 1 of the provisional agenda. I would like to move on to the next agenda item, which is 2A, and I'd like to invite Council to item 2 of the provisional agenda, which is the election of officials. According to Rule 15 of the Rules of Procedure of Council, the Council shall elect a chair and vice chair from among its membership with due regards to equitable geographical representation. At its 27th meeting in June 2024, the Council designated Zimbabwe as chair and Bangladesh as vice chair of the 28th meeting of the Council. Do I take it that the Council wishes to elect Zimbabwe as chair and Bangladesh as vice chair of the 28th meeting of Council? I hear no objection. It is so decided. Before I address Council, I would like to turn on to the appointment of the rapporteur. Rule number 18 of the Rules of Procedure requires that the Chair proposes to the member of Council to act as rapporteur. I would like to inform the Council that I have approached Antigua and Barbuda, apologies for that, to act as rapporteur, and I'm pleased that Antigua and Barbuda has accepted this responsibility. Do I take it that Council agrees with my proposal? I hear no objection. It is so decided. Now that the full Bureau of the 28th meeting of Council is elected, I'd like to say a few words to give some context to our meetings today. I'll move to the other side. Adjusted. Okay. Excellencies, the Vice Chair of the 28th Arena Council, Bangladesh, Director General La Camera, Deputy Director General Singh, Directors and staff of IRENA Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabwe is privileged and honored to once again assume the chairmanship of the 28th meeting of IRENA Council. On my behalf and that of my country, I would like to reiterate our immense gratitude and profound sense of responsibility in guiding the work and discussions of this Council related to the implementation of the work program and budget of 2024-2025, as well as addressing the important administrative and institutional issues. We're deeply honored by the trust you have once again given us, and we are committed to work collaboratively with Council members and the broader IRENA membership in supporting IRENA's mission and achieving our common goals. We want to commend IRENA membership for the commitment towards the energy transition at different levels of ambition to fix the climate crisis while addressing the development issues. As we move towards COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, the responsibility of IRENA is getting bigger. We were advised, especially those who were in the committee meetings yesterday, that the monitoring of the country's ambitions towards the tripling of renewables and energy efficiency and the revision of the members' NDC become key. And the key issue, among others, is how to ensure the investment flow architecture fosters equity and justice for green industrialization and economic diversification. Whilst investments in renewable energy have significantly increased over the years at a global level, the global south and sub-Saharan Africa still lags behind, and with sub-Saharan Africa only receiving 2% of the investments. And so the new capacity, so also is the new capacity installed in energy that kept a positive trajectory up to 2023. This calls for a new way of doing things, no longer business as usual. Climate change remains an emergency which needs urgent action and less talking. Zimbabwe would like to acknowledge the work by IRENA on the assessments and deployments of the distributed renewable energy systems for agriculture and health, which will further inform our rural energy master plan and help attract investments for rural electrification, focusing on productive use of energy in the health sector. Zimbabwe is already doing some work with the support of development partners on viability gap funding for renewable energy mini-grids, coming up with green villages. Actually, we call them green smart villages. We are also grateful for the participation of the recently held APRA Investment Forum in Kenya, where the country managed to showcase projects amounting to about 36 megawatts under the CPI. We also had officials and project developers who went through training on project development as a predecessor to the APRA Investment Forum as one of the IRENA strategic pillars on capacity building towards accelerated deployment of renewables. These are key in changing the financial architecture towards investments to the global south. And when we're looking at the global south, we are looking at seeds as well as some of the African countries where we still have over 600 million people without access to modern energy. We acknowledge that the demand for the renewable energy technologies has also brought in increased demand in the critical energy transition minerals, and these are found in a lot of countries where access is also very low. The International Renewable Energy Agency, in its recent report on critical minerals for EVs, batteries, acknowledges that the demand of some of these minerals, like lithium, would quadruple, whilst cobalt, graphite, and nickel will more than triple from 2023 to 2030. And if you look at the International Energy Agency report, it talks about going up by ×6 by 2050. So with that in mind, the UN Secretary General formed a panel on critical energy minerals. And in his words, the panel, he always reiterated the need to avoid mistakes of the past by upholding human rights through equity and justice among the critical energy minerals value chains. The UN General Panel on Critical Energy Transition Minerals came up with guiding principles and actionable recommendations that are therefore key to be taken on board for future, which makes resource-rich countries industrialized and have diversified economies, thereby building resilience to climate change with improved access to sustainable energy. This presents another way of funding the renewable energy access through the critical minerals value chains. We are urging all countries with such minerals to not just extract and export without any value addition. Without value addition, the transition will not be just, especially for the countries where these minerals are coming from. Zimbabwe remains committed to the tripling of renewables and doubling of energy efficiency by 2030 through the implementation of the renewable energy policy. And also, just recently, we approved the National Energy Efficiency Policy. The country has work going on to support from the African Development Bank on the National Integrated Energy Resource Plan, development of energy efficiency strategy for public sector buildings, wind assessments, electricity network master plan. Through the support of the British government and UNDP, we have been assisted to develop a clean cooking strategy for the country to help resource our goal of achieving universal access to modern energy and clean energy by 2030. These are key for the country to achieve its renewable energy targets of 26% of the energy mix by 2030. The COP28 goal of tripling renewables and doubling energy efficiency towards an urgent need to achieve the 1.5 degrees goal needs concerted effort by all. In that regard, international and regional cooperation remains key. I would want to commend the EU and other partners for their support, especially in Zimbabwe and Zambia, with rehabilitation of our Kariba Dam through the cooperation and a grant of over 100 million. This is highly appreciated through the region, which is going through a serious water crisis as a result of serious droughts, which has been the worst in 60 years. We want to reiterate our appreciation of the IPRA partners and committed themselves to work with Africa to accelerate renewable energy deployment. Much appreciation goes to others who are also willing to join the community. This can demonstrate how deployment of renewables in Africa can be significantly accelerated by taking deliberate steps to develop innovative and de-risking mechanisms, especially for APRA membership and for those who are actually still going to join. Zimbabwe would like to congratulate IRENA and the 28th presidency UAE on the launch of its annual report tracking the tripling of renewable energy and doubling of energy efficiency targets in the pre-COP 29 discussions in Azerbaijan. This report provides high-level analysis of these targets, detailing the existing shortfalls and identifying key enablers to resolve them. These are critical steps towards our success in limiting global surface temperature to 1.5 above the pre-industrialization levels in accordance to the Paris Agreement. I want to reiterate that as a country, we are committed to co-hosting a Southern African Renewables Investment Forum. We are also, furthermore, would like to announce that we will be hosting in 2025 the Sustainable Energy Week in partnership with SADC Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. And Zimbabwe continues to value participation of the private sector in renewable energy industry. As such, we've developed a government support agreement which allows for a standard power purchase agreement and also an undertaking on currency convertibility. We have a remarkable increase, which we have seen in the private sector investments through the commercial and industrial systems, and we envisage that by the end of 2024, we would have added an additional 100 megawatts of solar PV, which is connected to the grid and mainly being implemented by commercial and industrial customers led by the mining sector. I want to commend the Italian Embassy of the UAE for hosting the 17th Renewables Talks and the 7th Women in Diplomacy in partnership with the UAE government. Africa is really on the crossroads for energy transition, and Your Excellencies, such events demonstrate the high level of commitment by all towards the urgent need for action to combat climate change. And lastly, and most importantly, I would like to honor our host government, represented by Her Excellency, the UAE Permanent Representative, Dr. Nawal Al-Hossani, the government of UAE's unwavering support and hospitality has seen them successfully hosting key events, which we've seen in the past, COP28 Future World Future Energy Forum, and annual IRENA Council and Assembly meetings, amongst others. We remain grateful even to the usual UAE hospitality during this 28th IRENA Council and related meetings. Your Excellency, please pass our gratitude to your entire leadership. Director General for IRENA, Ms. Francisco La Camera, and Deputy Director General in the whole of IRENA Secretariat, you are forever appreciated for the event organization. I'll therefore like to take this opportunity to call upon the Director General of IRENA, Mr. Francesco La Camera, to deliver his opening remarks. Thank you.
Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 28th meeting of the Council. I'm delighted to see that 342 delegates registered to attend the Council, representing 119 members and 5 other countries. Let me start by sincerely thanking Zimbabwe and Bangladesh for your leadership and work. So, dear friends, the global energy transition is not just a technical and economic challenge. It is a moral imperative. As we got here today, we are reminded of the commitments made under the Paris Agreement, a framework that remains the cornerstone of our collective fight against climate change. As ARENA, we want to renew and reaffirm our commitment to support all of you, our members, to keeping global temperature rise within 1.5 Celsius. This is not a distant target, but an urgently necessity, and it will require unwavering political will from all of us. The UAE consensus set at COP28 in Dubai provides a clear and achievable pathway to reach net zero emission by mid-century. Within this context, ARENA has had the honor to be appointed by COP28 presidency as co-custodian of monitoring progress in implementing the energy outcome of the UAE consensus, tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency by 2030. Only 2 weeks ago, together with COP28 and COP29 presidencies, Brazil as host country of COP30 and the Global Renewable Alliance, we published the first edition of this annual report, and the outlook is bleak. Despite an unprecedented acceleration in renewable energy deployment in 2023, capacity addition for all renewable energy technologies fall short of meeting the triple targets. Current national plans and targets will deliver only half of the required growth in renewable power by 2030. This means that the world will have 34% less installed capacity than it should in 2030. Energy efficiency improvement are similarly off track. Moreover, $31.5 trillion in cumulative investment in renewables, grids, flexibility measures, energy efficiency, and conservation are needed by 2030. In other words, annual average investment in renewable power capacity should triple compared to 2023 levels by 2030. Only $570 billion was invested in renewable capacity in 2023, which is well below the average of $1.5 trillion needed every year between now and 2030. The uneven geographic deployment of renewables is also alarming and demonstrates that few countries attract the bulk of global investment. These shortfalls highlight the inadequacy of existing policy and plans to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 Celsius, underscoring the need for urgent policy intervention and massive investment. The time for delay and generic statement is over. The tripling renewable goal is a crucial step toward a sustainable and equitable energy future. By achieving this target, we can address climate change, enhance energy security, stimulate economic growth, promote sustainable development, and demonstrate global leadership in the transition to a clean energy world. With 6 years left to reverse harmful trends, collaborative efforts to remove the structural and systemic barriers preventing advancement are needed more than ever. We have 3 opportunities at hand. First, the unprecedented success of COP28, manifested through the ambitious UAE consensus, raised the bar of ambition and set the tone. This year, world leaders need to use COP29 platform as a platform to scale up climate finance, collectively increase ambition, and advance the global energy transition under clear targets. Looking ahead, ARENA has already begun collaborating with Brazil as the host country of COP30 to continue building on this achievement and ensuring that COP30 will be another pivotal moment in the collective effort to achieve net zero targets and address the pressing challenges of climate change. Second, the submission of the next round of updated NDCs due next year should be viewed as a springboard to add or strengthen clean energy targets as a part of countries' decarbonization strategies. To ensure coherence, it is also crucial for countries to align renewable energy targets in NDCs with those set in their national energy plan and legislation. We would like to thank the UAE for the generous contribution to ARENA's effort to support the development of NDC 3.0 framework for 20 ARENA members across all geographic regions. This funding will be aimed at helping countries integrate the outcome of COP28 UAE consensus in their national policy and strategies. This will enable countries to strengthen their commitments and actions toward achieving net zero emission by mid-century. Third, ARENA World Energy Transition Outlook has identified the 3 key policy priorities to guide policymakers in materializing this feasible goal. We need to modernize infrastructure, including accelerate grid modernization and digitalization. We need to create and strengthen regulatory and policy frameworks to underpin the energy transition. And we need to invest in institutional and human resources capabilities for the energy transition. ARENA remains at the forefront of efforts and initiatives, lending our analytical and convening powers in energy transition efforts in support of our members. ARENA's climate action engagement with its members currently include over 100 countries. We will build on this strong foundation to provide support, demonstrating that enhanced energy sector targets are both technical economic feasible and socio-economic viable. The Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energy in Africa, APRA, has set a new benchmark for international cooperation, ensuring that support from the global north for Africa's energy transition fully complements the continent's priorities. Under Kenya's leadership, ARENA organized the first APRA Investment Forum in Nairobi last week, as the chair has just said. While more details on APRA will be presented later today under discussion on annual report, I would like to share with you that as a part of our strategy, that in collaboration with GIAP and other partners, we plan to present the outcome of this forum at the World Bank Spring Meetings in April 2025, where we aim to catalyze further support, attract more stakeholders, and unlock greater funding to fuel Africa's renewable energy ambitions. Central Asia also boasts tremendous potential for renewable energy development, yet the region faces significant challenges in attracting the necessary investment. In close cooperation with Azerbaijan and alignment with COP29 priorities, we will host the very first investment forum ever organized during a COP, targeting the country of the Central Asia region and aiming to tackle investment barriers, coordinate action among stakeholders, and bring global exposure to projects from the region. This falls within our plan to also launch an accelerated partnership for renewable energy in Central Asia at COP29 to realign energy infrastructure, enable green industrialization, help create conducive policies, institutional regulatory frameworks, and mobilize resources for energy transition. Building on this momentum, IRENA has already initiated discussion with Brazil, the also COP30, to establish a similar framework that fosters accelerated renewable energy deployment and climate action across Latin America. Moreover, at the recent G20 meeting, the Brazilian presidency established the Global Coalition for Energy Planning. IRENA will actively support work in this area and will start coordinating with the presidency on the first Energy Planning Summit to be held in 2025 in coordination with the incoming South Africa presidency. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a shared responsibility to ensure that global energy transition is not delayed and that together we can turn ambition into action. The road ahead is challenging, but with bold decision, with collective commitment, we will drive the change that the world so desperately needs. In doing so, it is crucial that we remain focused on delivering measurable progress and staying united in our shared vision for a sustainable energy future. I look forward to our discussion today and tomorrow on how to shift gear to accelerate action and deliver on our promises. Thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director General, for those opening remarks. I would like to invite the Vice Chair, Mr. Mohammed Rahman, Charge d'Affaires at the Embassy of Bangladesh to UAE, to share his reflections with us. Mr. Rahman, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellency, Madam Chair, respected Director General of IRENA, distinguished delegates, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the outset, let me congratulate Zimbabwe on its election as chair of the 20th Council. I take this opportunity to express our humble gratitude to all the distinguished council members for entrusting Bangladesh with the task of vice chair for the session. We are honored to accept this role. Let me also thank the IRENA Secretariat for the excellent arrangements for holding this council. Excellencies, we would like to underline that Bangladesh always appreciates the work of IRENA, which is crucial for the climate vulnerable countries like us. Greater cooperation among members, which is in realizing the mandate of IRENA, would further promote energy transition across the globe and achievement of the target of the zero emission. To this tune, let me reaffirm Bangladesh's continued and ever-increasing engagement in pursuing IRENA's mandate in the coming days. We look forward to working closely with all the distinguished council members, the secretariat, and all other delegates for very fruitful deliberations during this two-day council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman. The Vice Chair and I would like to thank you for the trust you have placed upon us, and we are looking forward to our collaboration during this meeting. This concludes the agenda item 2A of the provisional agenda. I would like us to move on to the next agenda item, which is item 2B of the provisional agenda, adoption of the agenda. The provisional agenda is contained in the document C/28/L1. The provisional agenda for the coming 2 days contains a number of programmatic policy and institutional discussions, which are of direct relevance to the work which is ongoing at the agency and for its work program in the current biennium. I would like to inform Council of 2 amendments to the provisional agenda. As you may recall, at its 27th meeting, the United States of America proposed to include a provisional agenda item at its 28th meeting, the item relating to norms and practices to maintain IRENA as an inclusive and technical focused agency. I would like to inform you that the Council that the United States of America has requested the withdrawal of this item from the Council agenda. I would also like to inform Council that some concerns were raised by members about one of the annexes of the document on human resources management and trends contained in the document C/28/3. Together with the AFC Chair and Vice Chair, we held a discussion to address the concerns raised, and it is agreed that the Secretariat will revise the document without the Annex 3 on the note on succession planning. For this reason, the document under consideration by Council will be document C/28/3/Rev1. Do I take it that Council wishes to adopt the agenda of its 28th meeting as set out in the document C/28/L1 with the following understanding? 1. Agenda item 13 of the norms and practices to maintain IRENA as an inclusive and technical focused agency will be removed from the agenda. And the second part is the report of the Director General on Human Resources Management and Trends was revised without Annex 3 on the note on succession planning as contained in the document. That's the proposal. I hear no objection. It is so decided. I would like to inform Council that there will be time constraints. Should there be time constraints tomorrow afternoon, I'll propose to the Council the order in which the agenda items will be taken up. We will not change the agenda items. It will just be the reordering to make sure that we cover all the critical items. And I would like to remind delegations that our meeting today is expected to end at 6 p.m. Abu Dhabi time. However, we may extend as needed for an additional 30 minutes. We have interesting discussions ahead of us. The Vice Chair and I are determined to make the most of the Council time and to facilitate the engaging discussions in all matters contained in the agenda for this meeting. Before we take up the rest of the agenda items, I would like to inform members that simultaneous interpretation into 6 official languages is provided, and you have all your your equipment to be able to listen in the most prepared language. So this concludes the consideration of Agenda 2.B of the provisional agenda. Agenda item 2C, which is the adoption of the 27th, the report of the 27th meeting of Council. I now invite the Council to turn its attention to item 2C, the adoption of the report of the 7th meeting of Council, pursuant to Rule 49 of the report ROP. Reports of Council meetings shall not be official until approved by Council. The Council has before it the document C/27/SR/L1, the draft report of the 27th meeting of the Council. I do take it that the Council approves the report of the 27th meeting. We take it as read and we are presenting it for approval. I hear no objections. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration of item 2C of the agenda. I now invite Council to turn to agenda item 3, annual report of the Director General on the implementation of the work program and budget for 24-2025. The Council has before it the document C/28/2. Please also refer to the report of the Chair of the Program and Strategy Committee, which is C/28/CRP/1. And the Council may also wish to refer to the information note containing reports on collaborative frameworks, which was circulated by the Secretariat on the 22nd of October 2024. I will now invite the Director General, Ms. Lacamera, to introduce the topic. Director General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of introducing the annual report on the implementation of ARENA work program and budgets 2024-2025. The specific programmatic achievements thus far are detailed in the accompanying documents. Let me, however, draw your attention to some of the key aspects of our work, including some that were already mentioned earlier. Despite significant acceleration in renewable energy deployment in 2023, the current pace is insufficient to meet the ambitious goal of tripling renewable energy capacity by 2030. Additionally, without accelerating action, global installed renewable capacity will fall short of the required 11.2 terawatts by 2030, leaving a gap of 3.8 terawatts, which is 34% below targets. There is not much time to act, but the driver for an accelerated energy transition are there. This year edition of Renewable Power Generation Cost in 2023 is a flagship report showing that a record of 473 gigawatts of renewable power capacity was added in 2023. This accounted for 87% of newly installed capacity. The remaining 13% include all the fossil fuel investment, nuclear, and other. Once again, solar energy accounted for the highest growth, reaching 73%. New capacity was concentrated in China, the EU, and US, which collectively accounted for 83% of addition. Conducive policies, geopolitical development, and falling costs have driven renewable energy growth. The other positive news is the downward trajectory of the global average cost of electricity from utility-scale renewables, in particular solar PV, onshore and offshore wind, continued to rise. In addition, it was estimated that the power sector has saved $409 billion in fuel cost due to the total renewable power deployed globally since 2000. ARENA has been at the forefront of analysis of deployment of supply chain trends and their interaction with the employment trends in renewable sector for over a decade. The 2024 edition of Renewable Energy and Jobs Annual Report showed that 16.2 million people were employed in the renewable energy sector in 2023. This figure marks a staggering increase from the 7.3 million recorded in 2012. Approximately 7 million of these jobs are in the solar PV sector. The liquid biofuel sector is the second biggest employer with 2.8 million jobs, followed by the hydropower sector with 2.3 million jobs. On our work under the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable in Africa, our work under this partnership is also advancing. The partnership, led by African countries, has high ambition for renewables to accelerate any transition and promote green industrialization in the continent. APRA focus on the following key areas: mobilize finance by increasing access to public funds and offering guarantee to mitigate investment risk, thus lowering borrowing costs and attracting private investment. Engaging the private sector by fostering multi-stakeholder partnership to catalyze the desired change enabled by conducive policies, and technical assistance and capacity building that provide focused support and continuously build capacity to implement plans and create tailored policies that encourage investment and deliver socioeconomic benefits. We have already held country workshops in all APRA countries and developed action plan for Kenya, Namibia, Rwanda, and Sierra Leone. Action plan for Ethiopia and Ghana are currently under development. With Germany and Denmark's support, green industrialization is promoted in Namibia, and forecasting tools for variable renewables are being developed in Kenya, respectively. In recognition of Africa's unique energy potential and barriers in raising capital and attracting investment, the partners held the first investment forum in Nairobi last week. In the same spirit, ARENA will launch an initiative target Central Asia country. And the countries that are partners in the APRA are from the developed country part, Germany, Denmark, US, and UAE. And we are thankful for their work on this. As I was saying, in the same spirit, ARENA will launch an initiative targeting Central Asia country. Together with the Azerbaijan COP29 presidency, ARENA will hold an Energy Transition Investment Forum in Baku in mid-November. The event is strategically aligned with the COP29 priorities and action agenda, focusing on enhancing ambition and enabling action, with climate finance underscored as a top priority. So, ladies and gentlemen, the global goal of tripling renewables by 2030 is a key priority of ARENA communication strategy. Our goal is to shape the global discourse and decision makers to accelerate the energy transition. The new digital communication campaign launching this week under the slogan 3 for Renewables for Planet and People will be instrumental. The campaign will raise awareness, showcase existing solutions and benefits, and build momentum towards 2030. I invite you all to take part and multiply our main messages. Our campaign is based on the insight and funding from IRENA's findings presented at tracking progress toward the tripling goal, launched 2 weeks ago at the pre-COP in Baku. According to our analysis, the current deployment of renewables is not enough to triple by 2030, despite record growth. Also, significant regional disparity in terms of installed capacity of renewable persists, with the Global South increasingly being left behind. Investment in infrastructure, policy and skill capacity, accompanied by investment in international collaboration, are the key elements to address systematic challenges preventing progress. IRENA's visibility will be elevated through the promotion of the agency knowledge products, leveraging global events. This will also lead to raise awareness, increase influence on international decision-making. The statistics of the Tracking Progress Report are telling. The report was mentioned in 1,055 media articles across 20 countries, with over 1 million views across all social media platforms. It is the highest performing report to date. Now, before I pass to the directors, I would like to make one last point. In 2023, collaborated with a consulting company to establish an indicator for our result-based framework, including the work program and budget 2024-2025, and adopted at the 14th ARENA Assembly. The goal is to replace the matrix of implementation, listing key activities and deliverables annexed to the progress and annual reports with the framework. Reporting will include description, explaining deliverable, but structural around how the lead towards desired outcome. IRENA is in the process of enhancing the agency monitoring and evaluation framework to improve the tracking and impact of our work and increase our accountability. We have been working on developing baseline and timeline to meet the objectives set in the result-based framework, as well as identify data collection and analysis processes and standardized report structures. The baselines are set based on data from previous biennium, against which progress will be measured. In parallel, we are identifying the key elements and technical requirements to develop a web-based monitoring and evaluation system in alignment with existing IRENA IT capabilities. This is a cross-divisional effort following a whole-of-agency approach. Next year will be dedicated to setting all processes and structures in place. This is important as next year we will shape the work program for the next biennium, which will be aligned with the result-based framework allowing for results-based budgeting. The new monitoring and evaluation system will also allow for reporting that is focused on impacts rather than outputs. With your permission, Madam Chair, I will now yield to use the Director to provide highlights of the work undertaken in the respect area of responsibility. So I will ask first Roland, then Raul, then Gubus, then Ahmed to present their work. So thank you all. I hope this has given you a good sense of the work to date, and we look forward to your feedback.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director General. Dear Dear Excellency, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, IRENA's new tracking report shows clearly that renewable power deployment needs a much faster to accelerate. We work on these tracking reports with the Troika of the COP presidency of the United Arab Emirates, Azerbaijan, and Brazil, as well as with the Global Renewable Alliance representing the industry. In 2023, 473 gigawatts of global renewable capacity were added to achieve the tripling. We need to quickly accelerate and add more than double annually until 2030. The difference between the tripling and the national plans are drastic. Existing national plans and policies fall behind the 51% of capacity needed to achieve the tripling by 2030. The NDCs are even less ambitious than the national plans and policies. To course correct now quickly, a systematic integration of monitoring and evaluation into the NDCs and national roadmaps to assess the effectiveness of specific policies is vital. The setup of NDC 3.0 is now a critical window of opportunity, not only to accelerate ambition, but also to align national plans and NDCs to include monitoring instruments and thus ensure a comprehensive and strategic pathways that pays into a global climate ambition. Policymakers need to take into account different pillars when designing the new national determined contributions. They need indeed to contribute to emission mitigation. They need to take into account adaptation, as we will see already, global warming. Governance structures need to be fit to coordinate the actions. Transparency will lead to better processes and learning. So thus, transparency in the processes is extremely important. And also the strategies need appropriate funding, which has been mentioned many times, to explore the ways to access the funding is extremely important. Sorry, I was up like this. IRENA is supporting its member countries with manifold actions already to actually cover all these pillars. We provide technical assistance and support countries and international organizations already with many workshops and capacity building activities. In our various platforms and workshops, we provide room to develop and share knowledge and best practices. Finally, we provide toolkits that help the practitioners that prepare the national determined contribution to implement their goals. And thus, I would like to close with IRENA's upcoming NDC 3.0 toolkit that will help the member states to cover all important areas and considerations to successfully prepare the NDC planning and alignment with national policies. This NDC 3.0 toolkit will align NDC 3.0 targets with the national policies. It will help to set a long-term vision on the NDCs. It helps to establish better specific goals. It supports the development of actionable plans, and it supports the tracking and monitoring of progress. It is important to accelerate the ambition on the national determined contribution, and IRENA stands ready to support its member in doing so and preparing the ambition in the national determined contribution. I stop here. Thank you very much, and I hand over to my colleague, Raul Pellico.
Thank you, Roland. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Sabah al-Khair, buenos días, good morning. It is much easier to translate greetings into different UN languages than to translate the globally renewable energy targets into regionally agreed goals and especially nationally determined contributions. After the global stocktake that led to the historic UAE consensus, more than 130 countries now have the challenge of translating the tripling renewables pledge into the third update of their NDCs. However, IRENA sees in this challenge an opportunity to go beyond its official custodian role of tracking to make NDCs 3.0 implementable, investable, and impactable. IRENA's support to NDC alignment, it's turning knowledge, renewable energy knowledge, into know-how. Our deep and cutting-edge policy advice into permits, and our key finance expertise into final investment decisions. We are addressing the barriers to integrating tripling renewables and doubling efficiency through 5 critical enablers: policy and regulation, supply chains, skills and capacities, finance, international collaboration, infrastructure, and system operation. Let me go into more detail next, but as you can see on the slide, we have already done this in the past. We keep analyzing the gaps between NDCs and renewable energy targets. We keep innovating on renewable energy auctions design in developing countries. We keep training educators so they can train the leaders of tomorrow today through our Energy Transition Education Network. We keep helping countries and cities through our 10-year Global Atlas for Renewable Energy initiative and its simulators to know where to invest. We keep exchanging know-how with all stakeholders beyond governments through our decade-long IRENA's Coalition for Action. And we keep informing infrastructure expansion in line with best environmental, social, and governance practices. Now, on policies, our last tracking report just released at the pre-COP29 event in Baku shows many gaps in ambition between the latest NDCs and country renewable energy targets. Our quantification exercise gave clear picture that renewable energy installed capacity associated to the current NDCs is way below, is actually less than half of where we need to be by 2030 in order to stay within 1.5. We are now supporting different countries to ensure that renewable energy targets have policy coherence. And we are doing that, ensuring that they put sustainable development goals at the center of target setting, so that we can look a little bit beyond greenhouse gas emission reductions. And we also look at energy access and security. We also look at industrial policies, labor policies, gender, circularity, environmental and social impacts. And this is driven by our data on statistics, and it's based on our science and technology on renewable energy assessment. Then, for countries to integrate the Tripling Pledge, people need to be at the center of enhancing NDC 3.0 ambition. IRENA continues the statistical capacity, continues to strengthen the statistical capacity of countries, member states, to ensure that countries have the relevant data on renewable energy targets, to identify the gaps that the data has, and particularly gaps in data collection processes. And we address those gaps through ensuring that they meet international standards through capacity building, so that the data is accurate and reliable for us to actually support the statistics capacity tracking. And we have done that just recently, a few weeks back, through our statistics training that took place in Uganda with countries such as Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, among others. This is the type of efforts that we're trying to roll so that countries are ready to set up accurate renewable energy targets. But we also need to look at, we also engage in our resource assessment scientists, working with African countries as well as other countries across the world, so that they can see what is the renewable energy potential, so that they can consider that at different stages of the investment process. We provide data through the Global Atlas for Renewable Energy. We have engaged countries such as El Salvador, Georgia, and Mali to map the best areas for investment opportunities in solar and wind. We have engaged cities in Belize, Congo DRC, and Guyana to assess the rooftop solar potential for accelerating deployment of PV systems. And then at the project level, IRENA has supported Angola with conducting pre-feasibility assessments across solar PV sites. Now, there is also a key aspect when we look at capacity building. As you know, IRENA is the first agency that keeps track of renewable energy employment, and we have done that already for over a decade. The 11th annual review of the renewable energy jobs that we have done in partnership with the ILO shows the largest ever increase of renewable energy jobs. However, what is very important to see that growth, which has represented 10 million jobs over 10 years, it's very short of where we need to get to by 2030. We need to double that feed to reach 30 million jobs. Now, it's not just about how many jobs are created, but for whom. And our work looks at the gender as well as generational aspects, particularly considering the youth, so that they are also part of the energy transition. This is where our work on analyzing the gender perspective of different renewable energy technologies, as well as our work on leveraging the local capacity of particular technologies, helps us understand what are those disaggregation and gender and youth dimensions. It also helps us understand at which stage of the value chain we need to develop those skills. And this is why our Energy Transition Educators Network is so critical in that effort, in empowering institutions, industries, and individuals to achieve a just transition. Now, let me turn to finance. Because for NDCs to be implementable and investable, we need resources, and especially for justice to be achieved. This is where our work is looking not just at quantifying the finance that is needed. We are also trying to understand, how to go a little bit beyond bankability. We see that there is significant renewable energy potential in Africa. However, capital is not going to Africa. So we are analyzing specifically what are the gaps in the continent that needs it the most. It's not the only continent, but this is where we see a significant gap of 685 million people without access to electricity. So really, really working hard to understand where the barriers are for that capital. And we're doing that, obviously analyzing at the, comparing the conditional and unconditional targets. But we're also taking that information into our engagement with the G7, as we have done under the Italian presidency of the G7 this year. And we have done an analysis of impact potential that shows not only the bankability of projects in Africa and around the world, but also its impact potential, so that countries in the global north can inform the finance mobilization considerations for the global south, so that a just transition can be achieved. Now, let me conclude with this slide, which is also a significant part of our NDC support, which is around international collaboration. IRENA cannot do this on its own. We are very pleased to see the recognition of our work along other leaders. However, we need to keep engaging other partners in this effort. And this is why in this year's G20 report under the Brazil presidency, we have also further evolved that analysis of impact. We are also looking at financing and de-risking, and we're also looking at the social dimensions of the energy transition. We do that also engaging other platforms such as the Breakthrough Agenda, the NDC Partnership. We are also bringing that into IRENA's day-to-day work under the Collaborative Framework for Just and Inclusive Energy Transition. We can only do this with other partners, including the World Bank and others, under our Sustainable Renewables Risk Mitigation Initiative. And this is how we're going to be able to make those conditional commitments unconditional. Thank you. And now I'll pass you over to my colleague, Gurbus.
Thank you, Raul. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to everyone. I'm very pleased to provide you a bit more details on the country support dimension of IRENA's work on NDCs. All right. As you know, IRENA's NDC support work is not new, and it's already dates back to 4 or 5 years ago, and we have very extensive engagement since 2020 at the time of the previous NDC cycle, and at the end finance. And thanks to the generous support from the government of the UAE and Denmark, this time we aim to go even beyond what we have already achieved previously in terms of quantity and quality of support extended by IRENA. This year and next year are the years for producing the next generation of NDCs, and countries are expected to submit updated NDCs early next year, but certainly before COP30 in Belém. This year, we have clear guidance coming from the UAE consensus, with the tripling renewables goal informing the third generation of NDCs. And IRENA has several channels of engagement for NDC support at the country level. And one of those is the framework for our existing country work, and use it to extend support for the NDC enhancement processes. And as an example to that is the renewable readiness assessments, and we offer NDC relevant assessments and recommendations for energy transition to contribute to the country's preparations of energy component of NDCs. Bangladesh, Chad, Iraq, and Somalia are among those countries. In cooperation with the Energy Community Secretariat, we have been supporting Southeast and East European countries to improve the alignment of NDCs with national energy and climate plans. And what we see in many instances national plans are more elaborate than NDCs in terms of renewables ambitions, and we work to align these two. And we started with Georgia and Moldova, and looking forward to rolling it out to the rest of the region. In response to the invitation from the Director General a few months back, offering IRENA support in NDC revisions and implementation, we have received a number of NDC support requests already from member states. And we have already started working with the UAE and scoping the support to Mauritius, the Maldives, and most recently with Samoa. We closely collaborate with the NDC partnership in that context to provide support for Tanzania and El Salvador, and currently scoping for Malawi and Namibia. We are also engaging with members to provide NDC recommendations and input, building on IRENA's recent energy transition assessments relevant to the NDCs, and the recommendations cover the energy sector component of NDCs, including targets, national circumstances on energy transition, adaptation and sustainable development, core benefits from energy sector mitigation action, and the means of implementation. And we are currently working with Indonesia, the Philippines, and Pakistan on this. NDC implementation support is the key to translate the NDC ambition into actions on the ground. And we continue supporting NDC implementation as in the previous cycle, based on IRENA's so-called work packages on a wide range of technology, policy, and finance areas. And here, I wanted to provide you some examples of ongoing NDC implementation support. And here, assessments are an important component of NDC implementation to address short to medium-term challenges for creating strong investment frameworks. And for instance, resource assessments, I think my colleague Raul already highlighted it, that they include several work streams on zoning, site assessments, and solar city simulators. And we largely engage with Sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America on this. Our cooperation with Seychelles, El Salvador, Tanzania, Tonga, Colombia, and Burkina Faso, they fall under the technology and infrastructure heading, largely covering power system infrastructure and operations. Under the policies and planning and finance envelope, a wide range of capacity building activities are taking place in Africa, along with project development and facilitation support, which are offered to a number of increasing number of countries. In addition to the country engagement for NDC support, it is increasingly important to facilitate the industry action for realizing ambitious climate commitments under the NDCs and national decarbonization targets. And removing barriers through technology solutions and policies enabling decarbonization is important for advancing decarbonization. But equally important is the commitment of industry sector targets that would also be the key for advancing NDC implementation. And with the ambitious targets and enabling policies of industry and the utility sector, the countries can make progress in meeting the global tripling target of the renewables by 2030, as well as the NDC commitments. The Alliance for Industry Decarbonization, AFID, and Utilities for Net Zero Alliance, UNESA, they are both coordinated by IRENA implementation as well as enhancement by the countries. In fact, our effort is to closely work with the industry to raise their ambition aligned with national commitments, while also stimulating industry action on the ground for impact. With that, let me stop here and pass the floor to my colleague, Ahmed. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests.
always the last one to present, actually to connect the last mile. So moving from the implementation support, we have to move to the last mile for financial closure. That's exactly the word. Within the mandate of IRENA, before talking basically about what did we do along the NDC support to all IRENA member countries, we need to highlight one thing. When PFS added in 2020 is mainly to work on making projects that within the NDC countries' plans into bankability, so that financing institution would come to finance. Quite clearly that most of the vast majority of NDC projects within the NDC plans basically needed a lot of technical assistance, project-based technical assistance. It's different than the technical assistance for implementation plans or technology support. It's totally different. And as you can see, it's a very complicated part. We need to keep that in mind because the facilitation support is mainly about these key issues that we do. That's through these two platforms that I'm going to present now, as well as the related third pillar of the facilitation support, which is technical assistance. So to move on, so project facilitation support is the host of these two platforms for providing project-based capacity building, technical advisory, and to help countries access to finance. That's really the case. And along the issue of NDCs, let me start with ETAF is basically to facilitate and striking the balance for access to finance between two important partners with us. First and most important, the countries of IRENA, and the other part, the funding partners. So that until this moment, our target is to reach 5 gigawatt, but we believe that we extend the 5 gigawatt by 2030 to reach maximum between 20 to 25 gigawatt. Because until now, we financially closed, and I stress this word again, we financially closed with our key partners here led by Masdar of United Arab Emirates for about 1 gigawatt along several countries, but in a majority with Uzbekistan. But there is some littles in Africa that I will present in next slide. The most important part for supporting NDCs along Paris Agreement and materializing the United Nations SDGs is that our technical assistance is focusing on basically 3 issues. The access to climate finance with accessible cost of capital, this is number 1. Second issue, to ensure that economic impact are there. The third important issue is to ensure that there will be a sustainable impact. The two platforms are actually providing a very important technical assistance to build the capacity of respective countries along this last mile, which is basically bankability of projects. And most importantly, that we are raising additional finance for project development cost. This is really sounded last week we were in Kenya for the accelerating partnership for Africa with our 4 partners, United Arab Emirates, USA, Denmark, and Germany. If we look at very important issue of numbers, because numbers of projects reflects what we are receiving in the same time, what we achieved. Over the past 2 years, since basically 2 platforms become operational, it was quite clear that we financially closed 8 projects, but the impact in terms of megawatt is higher than if it's compared with the old facility. Thanks to the imminent support of United Arab Emirates, represented not only by EDFD, but also the very 2 big players coming online, which is basically Masdar as well as Emirates Development Bank. We are all together coming hand in hand with additional 11 partners under ETAF. And basically, we closed more than, again, 1,000 megawatt, actually, specifically 1,089 megawatt across more than 9 countries. What I would like to highlight here before moving to the last slide is one important issue. Technical assistance, as sounded when we were in Africa again, is very key. And I would like to thank United Arab Emirates because we started to access now their support package for NDC support to provide such a kind of technical assistance. This is really very eminent and important. And again, I would like to extend for the third time my thanks to the United Arab Emirates on this. My last slide, actually, which is typically the one that basically my colleague Corbs presented, but I would like to highlight very important issue here. Two important numbers again to compare. Number one, how many projects are financially closed versus how many submitted? It's almost 2% of what had been submitted. This stress very important issue that while the two platforms are really expanding along the four corners around the globe, that basically supporting NDCs needs a lot of support by resources for project development cost. That's really very important. The two important continents that they are asking for our support in terms of number of submitted projects is basically number one, Africa, and second is Asia. The third in row is basically small island developing states. The important and last comment I would like to highlight here is basically about one thing. The renewable energy project bankability development is really very, very exhaustive, long, and intricate. So to do this, there is a lot of efforts need to be done to be basically come into financial closure. The important part that was done by and presented by my colleagues along technology support, partnership and engagement with countries, as well as policy and regulatory measures to be taken. The final and last mile is very important along the bankability. This is the one that bring financing institution to ask for more support from IRENA, last of which we had basically as discussed, and basically we are expanding our number on ITER partners. I will stop here. Over to Director General. Thank you very much.
I thank the Director General and the directors for their presentation. I would like to invite the Chair of the Program and Strategy Committee, Her Excellency Ms. Vanessa Interiano, Permanent Representative of IRENA and Coordinator for the International Energy Affairs of El Salvador, to inform the Council on the deliberations of the committee on this topic. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Director General, distinguished delegates. I have to tell you that we have an excellent meeting yesterday with a very active participation. Now to my report, Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. I am pleased to share with you the outcome of the PSC discussions. The committee engaged in a valuable interchange of views on 23rd October, and I would like to thank all members who contributed to the meeting and the United States of America as Vice Chair for supporting the development of our report to the Council. The committee addressed two agenda items, namely the annual report of the Director General on the implementation of the work program and budget for 2024-2025, including updates on collaborative frameworks and the update on implementation of the global renewable energy target. I will now reflect some of the key messages emanating the discussions. The committee welcomed the report of the Director General on the implementation of the work program and budget. The committee also extended gratitude to the agency for its programmatic activities, underpinning the support to members in accelerating the deployment of renewables and implementing the tripling goal. The committee underlined the challenges faced by developing countries, especially in Africa, to attract financing and structuring bankable projects. The committee also stressed the urgent need to increase investments in renewables deployment, including infrastructure and interconnections, and welcomed the Investment Forum for the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, APRA, in Nairobi, as well as platforms such as the Energy Transition Accelerated Financing, ETAF. A participant looked forward to the upcoming Investment Forum in Baku, Azerbaijan. A participant stressed the unique challenges faced by small island developing states in their energy transition efforts, expressed concern that seats are not on track to meeting the tripling goal, and welcome IRENA's work in facilitating their access to financing and technologies. The committee underlined the importance of international and regional cooperation, as well as private sector involvement, and thanked IRENA for strengthening and facilitating collaboration among members and stakeholders and promoting programmatic and strategic alliances. A participant lauded IRENA for strengthening partnerships, promoting the decarbonization of specific sectors, such as the maritime industry. A participant applauded IRENA's support to the Group of 20 in their decarbonization efforts. Participants also underscored that currently national determined contributions are not ambitious enough and encouraged IRENA to assist members in translating the tripling goal in their enhanced NDCs due in 2025 and implementing the transparency reports. The committee emphasized the critical role of the upcoming COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, and called on IRENA to provide further information on its program during the meeting. Participants highlighted the instrumental role of collaborative frameworks in fostering collaboration and providing analysis on key issues. A participant commended the work of the collaborative frameworks and stressed the need of the outcomes to have an impact on the ground. A participant commended the work on hydrogen and critical materials undertaken by the framework on the geopolitics of energy transformation. Participants welcomed IRENA's communication strategy and encouraged the agency to strengthen its messaging, especially on energy transition, focusing on the benefits to countries and societies. Some participants applauded the organization of the informal online PSC meeting and called on the PSC chair to continue this practice. A participant called for improvements in administration, organization, and operations, including time management and transparent communication with the membership. The committee welcomed IRENA's recently published report on tracking progress in the implementation of the tripling goal and underscored the importance of monitoring its progress. Under any other business, the committee proposed the following. The chair proposed to hold a virtual PSC meeting in 2025 and informed that further updates will be provided to the PSC members and the rest of the membership on the arrangements of this virtual PSC meeting, as well as a proposed list of issues for consideration, building on outcomes of 28 council meetings relevant to the work of the PSC. The PSC chair also invited members to share their input on specific issues to be included in the agenda of the virtual PSC meeting. The Philippines called on IRENA to help establish a voluntary market and offer capacity building, as well as work with ETAF and CIP. The Secretariat invited the Philippines to send in an official request to take this forward. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair, for your report. I now invite the Chair of the AFC, His Excellency Mr. Akawala, Permanent Representative to IRENA and Ambassador of the Kingdom of Tonga to the UAE, to inform the Council on the deliberations of the committee on this topic. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Chair, and very good morning to Your Excellencies and members of IRENA and delegations, ladies and gentlemen. The Administration and Finance Committee, the AFC, met yesterday to discuss the budgetary aspects of the annual report. I'm pleased to highlight a few salient points from the discussions. The Secretariat presented a number of aspects relating to the budget utilization for 2024-2025. We received an outstanding contributions for 2023 and 2024, as well as inter alia, core non-assessed and other voluntary contributions, amongst others. During the discussions, Chair clarification was sought on the deficit of 5.7 million at the end of 2023, as was stated in the audited financial statements for 2023, and brought to attention during the 27th Council meeting in June. The Secretariat noted that this deficit arose due to the timing difference in recording multi-year contributions as per accounting standards and actual expenditures. The Secretariat further informed that measures are in place to carefully track income and expenditure, ensuring that expenditures are covered by the cash flow. Therefore, there has been no impact on IRENA's commitment in terms of payments for goods and services to staff or vendors. During the AFC meeting, the Secretariat also presented some initial considerations on linking the budget with outcomes and impacts, including the key steps envisaged for aligning the budget with IRENA's strategic objectives in the 2026-2027 biennium. As part of this transition, the Secretariat intends to strengthen the connection between budget allocations and measurable outcomes to enable effective tracking of performance. In the current biennium, the Secretariat intends to undertake initial planning and stakeholder engagement and capacity building and systems development. It is envisaged that the budget proposal for the 2026-2027 biennium will mark the first phase in ensuring that IRENA's strategic objectives are directly linked to financial resources guided by the Monitoring and Evaluation Framework, the M&E. Some concerns were raised during the discussion regarding the progress of the M&E framework. AFC members stated that supporting documentation would be required for them to offer detailed feedback on this issue. It was also highlighted that during the PSC meeting held yesterday, a proposal was made to modify the way the annual report is presented. In addition to what was proposed in the PSC regarding adjustments for the presentation of the annual report, it was proposed that in light of the plans for the rollout of the results-based framework, the next annual report is structured along the contours of the results-based framework. This would ensure there is a focus on achievements and outcomes and not on outputs. In this regard, it was requested that the PFC and AFC chairs work with members to come up with some views on how the annual report can be modified to this end and communicate the same to the Secretariat. I believe this would greatly assist the Secretariat in the preparation of the upcoming reports. This will ensure that the links between the budget and outcomes are clear, concrete, and offer added value to the agency, its membership, and stakeholders. The AFC took note of the report as well as the interventions made and agreed to submit it to the Council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair, for your report. I now invite Council to take note of his oral report. I will now open the floor for members' interventions on the annual report for the Director General on the implementation of the work program and the reports of the collaborative frameworks. I give the floor to the United Arab Emirates. It's just United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Secretariat, membership, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by welcoming you all back to Abu Dhabi. Such a pleasure to have you here. I would like to congratulate Zimbabwe and Bangladesh for being appointed chair and vice chair of the 28th Council after a very successful 27th Council meeting back in June. I would like to take this opportunity to take a moment at the start of the Council meeting to recognize the accolade that the Director General received from the UAE's leadership last month. IRENA DG, along with other global dignitaries, was awarded with the First Class Order of Zayed II by His Highness Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the UAE, for contributing to the success of COP28 in the UAE. The Director General's recognition is symbolic of the full and unmitigated trust that the UAE has placed in IRENA's ability to rally the global community around the responsible and inclusive energy transition. Beyond the UAE and the COP28 presidency, the trust that has been placed in IRENA's capabilities to deliver by the Troika and the G7 speaks volumes of the global significance and importance of the analytical work the agency is doing in the renewable energy sector. Congratulations to IRENA team for delivering results that matter. There is, of course, always more work that needs to be done. Having just returned from the pre-COP29 meeting in Baku, where IRENA presented the results of their work on tracking the progress of the renewables and energy efficiency targets contained in the UAE consensus, one thing is very clear. We are falling short in our pledges to triple renewable power by 2030. Sadly, this does not come as a surprise. Even when 133 countries pledged to tripling renewable capacity and double energy efficiency at COP28, we knew that this goal was ambitious but necessary. We continually look at IRENA for guidance on how the global community can achieve its targets. Solutions need to be country-specific. Countries need help prioritizing the solutions and frameworks that suit them best. Policies, regulations, subsidies, incentives, or consensus can be helpful tools in addressing the challenges different countries face. But not each of them might be the right solution for a particular country. As part of our voluntary contribution to IRENA, and as mentioned by the Secretariat, the UAE is supporting IRENA's work on strengthening the NDCs in 20 developing countries. Under this commitment, the UAE IRENA initiative under the NDC partnership was signed on the sidelines of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. Given IRENA's deep knowledge and expertise of the challenges embedded in the energy transition, the agency is in a position to help countries raise and achieve their NDC ambitions. International cooperation remains of utmost importance to IRENA's work, and we request IRENA to give updates on its existing global partnerships with objectives and timelines. The UAE also reiterates its request to the Secretariat for full and comprehensive information regarding the allocations of budgets to each of its work programs and activities, as well as sources of its budgets. And finally, as the UAE has previously stated, we need to see improvements in IRENA's administrative and organizational operations, including its time management and transparent, consistent, and timely communications with the membership, especially in the preparation for the council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for that submissions. I would also like to congratulate the Director General and the team for getting this recognition, which is key for our movement towards a net zero. Do we have another request for the floor? Germany? Sorry, I couldn't see your...
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just raised it. So, thank you very much for the floor. And very good to be back in Abu Dhabi again. I haven't prepared such as elaborate a speech as my colleague from the UAE, but I still want to say a couple of words. Thank you to the Director General and the directors for the presentation. IRENA has, with its work, has been central to making the UAE consensus and specifically the tripling goal of renewables possible. And now the organization has a central role also in tracking and supporting the implementation of this goal. As we heard, there's still a way to go to make the tripling of renewables by 2030 reality, but on the upside, there's unprecedented momentum as deployment is picking up. There are challenges. It's not even across regions of the world and so on. But I think Germany's perspective is that the glass is at least half full, not half empty. And with the good work IRENA is doing, we do have a fair chance of really meeting this goal by 2030. Now, we've heard really a wealth of information from directors of what IRENA is doing in support of renewables deployment, in analytical work, in bilateral engagement, in engagement in regional fora, as well as multilateral forum, such as G7 and G20. Perhaps I want to highlight each aspect of this work is extremely important. We think it also points to the ongoing challenge for IRENA to always think where its limited resources are put best and where the organization can create the maximum leverage in driving renewables deployment. And of course, it points to the challenge of making sure that the aspects of work inform each other, that the analytical work, the bilateral, the multilateral work does not happen in silos, but inspires each other and complements each other, and that one part of the organization makes sure it also strengthens all the others. Now, in the limited time, I just want to highlight a couple of aspects that were mentioned that Germany especially appreciates, such as the investment forum of the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa in Nairobi. We think that is really very promising channel of activities to address the shortfall of renewables we still see in regions such as Sub-Saharan Africa. Also, in the G20 this year, IRENA has provided a lot of input on the positive impacts energy planning can have to accelerating the clean energy transition by providing a clear pathway and strengthening investor confidence in the energy transitions of each country, and thus also to tackle the hurdle we still see of high financing costs in countries. If the stakeholders see that there's a clear plan that countries really follow through with, that also does quite a bit to bring down funding costs. Now, looking forward to COP29, we see big significance in working on the enabling conditions of the tripling goal, such as, just to highlight two topics here, making sure countries have adequate transmission and distribution grids, as well as the issue of energy storage in order to make sure that renewables interact in the best way possible with the rest of the energy system. And Germany strongly supports IRENA's work on these issues as well. My final point are the NDCs 3.0, which were also addressed already. We heard that the present NDCs are vastly not enough to take us to the tripling goal. On the other side, it's good news that the reality is actually moving faster than the NDCs. So for the new round of NDCs, we need this task of translating the global ambition into national ambition is extremely important, both from the climate perspective, but I think there's also much convincing IRENA can do in work with countries that this is not just for the sake of climate, but that setting ambitious renewable targets in their NDCs is also in the sake of making the most of the economic and the welfare promise renewable space energy transition has for countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, German, for that intervention. I see there are more requests for interventions, specifically for council members. I was going to ask if there are any other council members who wanted to take the floor before I call on the other countries which have requested for the floor. So I now call on Denmark. to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by congratulating the chair and the vice chair, and again to thank the UAE for hosting us here in Abu Dhabi. We would like to thank the IRENA Secretariat and the Director General for the comprehensive report on the implementation of the work program and budget. IRENA has an important role as the principal platform for international cooperation on renewable energy and a knowledge hub for both political, technological, and financial aspects of renewable energy technologies. For us, it's important to underline that successful implementation of the ambitious work program of IRENA is key to the impact of the organization and its ability to support countries on realizing their renewable energy potential. We therefore find it positive that IRENA's many activities are generally indicated as being on track. We also take note of the budget overview. The utilization of IRENA's core funding as of end of August seems to be better in line with the approved biennial budget that in April at the last council meeting. However, with 44% of the core budget having been spent by the end of August 24, and with likely substantial expenditures to be expected for the last trimester of this year, including in relation to COP29, we allow ourselves to stress the importance of continued attention on expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you, Denmark, for that intervention. And I call on China to take the floor. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I will deliver my speech in Chinese. 感谢拉克梅拉总干事和各位主任的支持。
Thank you very much for the Director General and other support that you provided to us, and thank you for the detailed report. And in the recent years, IRENA have very strong and clear strategy to actively promote the renewable energy and to enhance the framework's construction and to support the regional support. And they have achieved a great deal in recent years. In the report they provided just now, and there are some promotions and APRA and a small island country. These ideas initiatives are very, very good, and also provided information about Brazil being the GCET as chair, and in the future enlarging and Middle Asia, and some more works in other areas, and CIG and the ETAF constructions. There are so many projects that IRENA is doing. All this work just shows that IRENA's importance in the global energy transition. All this work not only shortens the gap between different countries and regions, and also it provided that the ambition that's showing what we'll be doing in the future. As far as China is concerned, we will keep our support to IRENA for your work and promotions, and encourage the cooperation between these two sides, and also share the experience that China has in renewable energy, and promote the construction of renewable energy work. And in terms of finance and so on and so forth, we are willing to support IRENA's work in the future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for that intervention, Your Excellency. I would like to call on Portugal to take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director General and the IRENA team, for your excellent work and for the information provided in the annual report. Let me highlight some key areas towards our common goals of sustainability and inclusive growth. As mentioned in the annual report, the training programs and adapted resources could empower local stakeholders and create jobs in the renewable energy sector. Thus, we need to strengthen capacity building initiatives to support the countries on the energy transition, mainly those located in developing regions. We support the promotion of energy access and inclusion. as it is crucial that renewable energy solutions reach vulnerable populations, particularly through decentralization, ensuring that the benefits of renewables are distributed equitably, as highlighted in the conclusions of the report on energy accessibility. Although the collaboration between member states, private sector, and civil society is crucial to accelerating the energy transition, Portugal has participated in several IRENA collaborative frameworks, especially in the fields of ocean energy and offshore renewables, reinforcing our commitment to international cooperation and sharing of good practices in energy transition. We encourage IRENA to remain facilitating platforms for sharing best practices in innovative technologies, building on a collective strengths. We encourage IRENA to integrate climate adaptation strategies into its framework, showing how renewables can mitigate the impacts of climate change. Portugal is committed to working with IRENA and member states to accelerate the transition to a renewable energy-based system, equitable and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Now call on the United States of America. Take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to DG La Camera, Deputy DG Singh, and the IRENA Secretariat staff for the work program update. The United States also recognizes with enormous gratitude the role of the UAE as the generous host of IRENA. The U.S. is encouraged that this work program demonstrates IRENA's continued efforts to push forward research, partnerships, and programmatic work in line with its 5 strategic priorities. As the center of excellence for energy transformation, IRENA's signature research products like the World Energy Transition Outlook allow members an opportunity to highlight our national and collective progress deploying renewable energy. As a hub for international collaboration, IRENA knows that renewable deployment will not occur without broad engagement from all stakeholders: labor, manufacturers, finance institutions, utilities. Everyone has a role to play. As the global voice for renewables, IRENA communicates to international organizations, industry gatherings, and the public that there are additional steps we can and must take to support renewable deployment. As an organization that supports regions and countries, IRENA knows that the energy transition and renewable deployment looks different for each country. IRENA's individualized engagement with members, whether by supporting NDCs or by conducting regional and national level consultations, informs policy recommendations and project facilitation with local context. And by facilitating projects and mobilizing capital, IRENA supports development-ready projects by connecting them to financing or providing appropriate technical assistance. We again thank IRENA's dedicated staff for their hard work on all these lines of effort. As we move forward, we encourage the Secretariat to continue to keep these strategic priorities in mind. We eagerly look forward to the introduction of the results-based framework in future work program updates, which will help both member states and the Secretariat gain a better understanding of where IRENA's work is most impactful and where other strategic adjustments may be necessary to better support our commitment at COP28 to triple renewable energy by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I would like to call on Ghana to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think it's very refreshing to hear from a member from the developing countries after we've listened to our brothers from the developed countries. I was very excited to see the intervention of IRENA together with AFD to support Togo to put together a 50 megawatts solar plant, and that goes to show the commitment of IRENA in helping especially developing countries to meet their goals under the Paris Agreement and other international commitments. In Ghana, we are also very committed to increasing our share of renewable energy in our energy mix. Indeed, we have a very ambitious program to scale up the proportion of renewable energy in our energy mix. We have a big document. We have a transition plan that guides us, provides a roadmap as to how much renewable energy we need to inject into the energy mix at any point in time. And we are going on with this without any external support. Indeed, we also want to show our gratitude to IRENA under the UNESA, Utilities for Net Zero. A number of our institutions in Ghana are members, and they are putting together several documents that indicates the gaps that we need to fill if we need to meet our goals. And indeed, in all the discussions, one key gap has come out, that's financing. And that's one thing that we are all trying to get our minds around. But I was so encouraged by the intervention of IRENA with Togo, and I hope that with this kind of intervention is going to continue to other developing countries. Indeed, in meeting our targets under the Paris Agreement, it goes without saying that developing countries have a key role to play in this, because it's the countries that are going to have the most impactful impact when we put in these developing these renewable energy technologies. And we hope to continue to collaborate with IRENA to help us meet our targets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ghana, for that intervention and acknowledgement which has been done by the rest of the council members on that each country will need different interventions, and the role of IRENA is much appreciated in that respect. I don't see any other council members requesting the floor. We will now move on to El Salvador to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will deliver my speech in Spanish. Señor Presidente,
voy a hablar en español. President, dear delegates, on behalf of the government of El Salvador, it is a pleasure for me to be part of this 28th session of the IRENA Council. Allow me to congratulate you, Madam President, for chairing this working session. I would like to also greet Director General Francesco La Cámara. Our alliance will continue. We encourage the IRENA to continue along this path. Madam President, El Salvador is grateful for the general report, as well as the work program and budget for 2024-25, as well as the excellent work conducted by the Secretariat. The report indicates that tripling the ability of renewables by 2030 is financially viable, but it requires a political commitment as well as a large-scale investment. In order to do that, we need to extend the physical infrastructure to have the right policies, as well as developing our capabilities and human resources that are adequate for the time of renewables, and this is indispensable. However, the main barriers for the development of infrastructures in renewable energy still requires long-term permits, the lack of networks, storage capabilities, as well as other barriers regarding stockkeeping of energy of renewable sources. All of this requires expanding bilateral and multilateral investment opportunities, as well as direct support for developing countries, in order to make sure that we can all be aligned with the COP28 goals, and therefore to reach the goals of the Paris Agreements. Investment in renewables still concentrated on a limited number of countries, and it is only focused on just a few technologies. IRENA must continue to support developing countries so that they can strengthen their regulatory frameworks and to develop their markets in order to foster investment in clean energies. Now more than ever, it is very important to intensify international collaboration. So along those lines, investment fora can play a vital role in order to attract investment. Dear President, my delegation would like to also congratulate IRENA because of the work that is done through collaborative frameworks. We believe that these platforms are fundamental in order to exchange knowledge and experiences and to also foster technology transfer. We would like to suggest that in order to make the most of all of this knowledge, activities can be conducted at the national level in order to reach results and that we can have the highest impact possible. We support the global network of long-term scenarios of IRENA, which has had tremendous success in the exchange of practices and knowledge. El Salvador has been an active player as part of this network, which has contributed a significant value to our institutional capabilities, facilitating the exchange of knowledge as well as the development of other capabilities. Future activities of the network must underscore the creation of national capabilities, the fostering of regional collaboration, as well as the improvement of the inclusion of planning processes of this energy transition. Now, Madam President, we acknowledge the need to foster geothermal energy, which is a base energy that does not generate any emissions and a key element along the path towards decarbonization. The Geostrategic Alliance of IRENA is a platform for dialogue and collaboration. However, we would like to see it more active. We encourage this alliance to carry out activities at a regional scale so that countries with geothermal capacity can benefit from these shared experiences. Now, Mr. President, we agree with this monitoring and evaluation system of IRENA for the 2024-25 biennium, which will be very useful so that the key product of the next work program can be compared with the results in order to ensure their harmonization with the goals of the agency and its midterm strategy. The country is fully committed and willing to keep working with IRENA and its members in order to forge a common view as part of this commitment with the energy transition. At El Salvador, we face both national and international challenges, but under the leadership of our president, we have the political will and determination to speed up the decarbonization and to therefore contribute actively in the fight against climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for that intervention. I would like to call one of the alternate members of Council, the Republic of Korea. Take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to express my gratitude to the Director General and the directors for their presentation of the work program and the budget. Korea appreciates the IRENA has published its first progress report on the UAE consensus of tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency by 2030 as the custodian agency for tracking and reporting these goals. This report provides the detailed assessment of where the world stands, highlighting areas that are on track and others that lag behind. This data-driven approach helps identify specific gaps in deployment, investment, and policy, calling for the need of international collaboration to achieve these goals. We trust that IRENA is the sole international organization dedicated to renewable energy will continue to play a leading role in the global efforts to implement this UAE consensus. In addition, we well note that amid the accelerated global energy transition, IRENA has been making significant efforts to ensure that developing countries are not left behind by supporting finance mobilization for investment. In October, IRENA co-hosted the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, APRA Investment Forum with the government of Kenya in order to support Africa's energy transition. We also recognize that IRENA is playing a crucial role in supporting the energy transition and climate action of small island developing states through its coordination of the state's Lighthouse Initiative. We look to ARENA to expand its reach to other climate vulnerable regions such as Southeast Asia in their successful energy transitions. According to ARENA's World Energy Transitions Outlook published last year, one of the key performance indicators for achieving the 1.5 degree scenario by 2050 is the utilization of carbon capture and storage technology. In recognition of the importance of CCS technology for achieving carbon neutrality, Korea hosted the International Conference on Transboundary CCS on October 16 to explore measures for cooperation on cross-border CCS. The conference, attended by more than 300 participants, highlighted the strong interest and need for bilateral and multilateral cooperation on transboundary CCS projects. We hope that ARENA will deepen its research on this topic by publishing in-depth reports and hosting events to lead the clean technology agenda. Finally, just as ARENA's previous energy transition report has provided valuable insights into CCS for Korea, we request that the upcoming 2024 World Energy Transitions Outlook report be widely promoted to ensure it is effectively utilized in diversifying and enhancing countries' energy transition efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission. I'd like to call on Italy to make their submission, followed by Mauritius.
Thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues, good morning. And thank you for organizing this important meeting. First of all, let me express our gratitude for the generous and in-depth presentation about ARENA's project and important initiatives. It's very inspiring and sustaining what the change that we are seeing today. The Council meets at a time when the international scenario highlight uncertainty emerges as a dominant trend shaping the global landscape. The energy sector, now for its slow pace of change, is undergoing a dynamic transition, and notwithstanding the uncertainty which characterizes the global scenario, is demonstrating as one of the most dynamic sectors at global scale. Nowadays, renewables means a new occupation, transforming old sectors as well as creating new ones, stimulating university innovation center to create new materials, alternative solutions to accelerate industrial processes for a better efficiency, reduce CO2 emission everywhere. A sector able to meet the imperative of climate change, resilience to extreme weather events which are disproportionately impacting poorer countries, able to alleviate energy poverty, energy security in the path of the just transition. In this scenario, Italy, in continuity with the G7 commitments, confirms the strong and firm commitment to the ambition target to tripling the capacity and doubling the efficiency, the way consensus reached at COP28. Furthermore, the last version of the Italian strategy on energy confirmed the phase-out of the coal at 2025 and gradual progressively reduction of fossil fuel in all the economic sectors to reduce drastically CO2 emission. Since January 2023, more than 600,000 photovoltaic plants have been installed all over Italy, from utility scale to roof plants, following the economic structure and geographical untapped potentialities. In the first 8 months of 2024, the increase of renewables were astonishing, plus 24.4%. It means the renewables are the major component of the power electricity in Italy. In addition, we following the, let's say, the inspiring by ARENA, we work on the grid. Robust grid means something they're able to deliver the new pipeline, the new plants in the pipelines. So the government decided to invest 20 billion euros in the next 10 years to renew the grid in order to accommodate the new plants, PV particularly, and wind energy. A robust grid infrastructure is a prerequisite of crossing borders and seas by connecting distant countries. That's the case for the North African, the connecting with Italy in two main elements. One is the grid, electricity grid, an infrastructure that will link the coast of North Africa to Italy and bring the flow of energy in the most favorable geographical condition to consumer in Italy and Europe. The same happens for the hydrogen infrastructure that is at the moment in the study between the same area from North Africa and Europe, called South H2 project. But IRENA is also highlight the fact that the geographical imbalance in the renewable energy production among the world's region. In this perspective, engaging Africa to raise its energy profile is a key point to accelerate the energy transition. The Mattei Plan launched this year by the government will focus on integrating holistic approach development, where energy is the engine that drives all the wheels of society, from education to health, from energy to just transition. So, in conclusion, we invite the Secretariat in IRENA to confirm, to continue to build programs and initiatives shown today for a more sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I'll call on Mauritius, which will then be followed by Iraq. Mauritius, you have the floor.
Yeah. Chairperson, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share briefly the energy transition journey of Mauritius at this council meeting. So Mauritius is a small island state of 2,040 square kilometers located in the Indian Ocean at a crossroad between Africa and Asia. We have set ambitious targets to achieve in our energy transition journey, namely to upscale to 60% our share of renewables in our electricity mix by 2030. This, together with the phasing out of coal usage and improve energy efficiency by 10% by the same time horizon of 2030 as compared to 2019. These ambitions reflect the nation's commitment to sustainability and environmental responsibility. In 2022, Mauritius updated its renewable energy roadmap to align with these new targets. Various renewable energy technologies have been advocated, including solar, wind, biomass, and ocean, among others. Focus has been laid in the initial years on solar energy in view of our natural endowment, and as at date, Mauritius has successfully implemented various solar photovoltaic projects totaling around 150 megawatts as of mid of this year. Furthermore, a total of 328 megawatts has already been committed for installation, which demonstrates the country's proactive approach to harnessing clean energy. With the assistance of IRENA and the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, we have already installed 2,000 solar PV kits on rooftops of vulnerable households, thereby meeting objectives under Sustainable Development Goals 1, 7, and 10. The project aims to install 10,000 such kits. Recognizing the limitations of land availability for further solarization projects, Mauritius is exploring other solutions such as floating solar PV and offshore wind energy. An initial floating PV project of 32 megawatt is envisaged to be replicated subsequently in other water bodies. A pre-feasibility study has moreover been completed on the assessment of the potential for a 100 megawatt of offshore wind farm. To move forward effectively, technical assistance is required to conduct a detailed feasibility study for this groundbreaking project. As an island nation, Mauritius operates on an insular electricity grid, which presents unique challenges, especially with the increasing integration of intermittent renewable energy sources. Ensuring grid stability is paramount for the reliable supply of electricity. To address this challenge, Mauritius has already installed 38 megawatts of battery energy storage system, and another 40 megawatt is under process. Addressing the challenges posed by renewable energy waste, Mauritius has also commissioned a study on the development of an action plan for the recycling and disposal of used solar PV and EV electric vehicle batteries in the Republic of Mauritius. The study will guide the development of an appropriate legal and regulatory framework to be put in place. Given its unique topography, we are also envisaging the implementation of pump storage systems in our existing reservoir as an alternative to BESS for the long term. A feasibility study has been launched. In addition, a strategic plan for the development of hydrogen also has been commissioned. Finally, I would not like to end without highlighting some of the constraints and challenges that we are being faced, not only to address security of energy, but also to contribute to global efforts against climate change. The developers and still put forward access to finance as a major barrier, together with absence of scale in view of a small size. Lengthy permitting systems also delay substantially execution of projects. Mauritius has taken bold measures to de-risk investment in major renewable energy projects by putting in place just recently a government support agreement. And in parallel, a fast tracking mechanism has been in place since a few years. Much remains to be done to accelerate the green energy transition to meet our national goals, and Mauritius relies on the continued support of our IRENA and its partners in its journey. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for that intervention, Mauritius. I would like to remind the different countries who would like to intervene that we are still on the interventions on the annual report for the Director General. There will be country interventions on updates of their efforts towards the energy transition. So I would like to call on Iraq to take the floor. They'll be followed by the Netherlands, and then we'll close with Belgium.
Thank you, Chair. I will deliver my speech in Arabic. سيدة رئيسة المجلس المحترمة، سيد المدير العام للوكالة الدولية للطاقة المتجددة المحترم، أصحاب السيادة والسعادة ورؤساء الوفود المشاركون المحترمون، تحية طيبة. تعمل الحكومة العراقية على خلق حلول مبتكرة.
Allow me to tell you that the Iraqi government is working on finding solutions that will allow us to have a seamless energy transition from the traditional energies to the renewable ones, which will allow us to provide the needed demand and to guarantee the energy security, in addition to increasing the resilience of this industry to be able to mitigate the climate change risks. This will support our national sustainability plan for 2030 in Iraq, where the government works on implementing the following activities and goals, where we will reach 20% of our grid from the renewable energy. The Ministry of Electricity adopted a promising plan for 2030, where in it we focus on producing electricity from solar power by 10,000 megawatts, and this is by 2030, in addition to supporting all the government entities and ministries to have on the rooftops the solar panels that will allow to generate electricity, in addition to building a number of solar panels on the different households, also roofs. We will be working with the International Renewable Energy Agency in order to support the promising plan. The Ministry of Electricity is working on using the waste in order to produce electricity by 2030. Further, the Ministry of Electricity, within its plan to diversify its agenda by working on generating 600 megawatts in Iraq from the wind energy. We have been working on supporting the electricity national company in order to have a seamless transition and to guarantee the energy security. Iraq will be benefiting from the regional electricity projects with Jordan, where we will have also another project that will be implemented with the GCC countries. These projects will be implemented, and definitely this will help us connect our grid in South Iraq to the grid in the GCC. Ladies and gentlemen, Iraq is facing a number of challenges when it comes to the environment and climate change. It is one of the most affected countries when it comes to the increase in the temperature and also being affected the most by the climate change. Consequently, Iraq adopted the national strategy to protect environment for 2024-2030, and this strategy will constitute a big achievement to tide over the environment challenges and that are aligned with the national sustainable development. Iraq will work in the 6 coming years to give priority on using renewable energies in Iraq. In conclusion, allow me to extend my thanks to IRENA, that is represented by Mr. Francesco, for the continuous support to Iraq to be able to reach energy readiness and energy security. Allow us also to extend my thanks to each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you for that intervention, Your Excellency. We'll call on Uganda to make an intervention. Then they'll be followed by Netherlands and Belgium. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Uganda wishes to thank the UAE for hosting this council and also congratulate the Chair of IRENA for steering the council. Uganda is mainly dependent on renewable energy and is highly committed to doubling their actions as evidenced in the newly approved energy policy of 2023 and the energy transition plan of 2023. In the same vein, Uganda has increased their zeal in the adoption of renewable energy and the energy efficiency practices through a new energy efficiency and conservation bill. And Uganda wishes to reiterate that the first adoption of renewable energy will be achieved through addressing the key barriers that hinder the adoption. As a think tank for renewable energy, IRENA is encouraged to propose new policy triggers that will help the global village to quickly and fully adopt the renewable energy options. As we may note, most of the financing available is supporting the traditional investments, yet renewable energy should be considered as a new normal. Therefore, financing should be structured to accommodate the unique challenges associated with the new technologies, the size of financing required, which may not be to the magnitude of the traditional financing, as well as lack of critical data to support the traditional financing packages. We are glad that IRENA conducted a capacity building assessment for statistics in Uganda. As you will appreciate, Chair, there is not enough statistics to help many governments to make decisions for energy transition. Considering that we are interested in the energy transition that leaves no one behind, we encourage IRENA to continue building capacity for energy statistics that will help to support the energy transition. Uganda will continue to follow the low carbon path for development by engaging in further investments in renewable energy, as well as improving on energy efficiency. Uganda is proud to associate with the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa and will very soon register as a member. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Uganda. I'll call on Netherlands, and then they'll be followed by Belgium.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Secretariat, for the presentation. And I would like to commend IRENA on its continuous efforts on accelerating the energy transition. We would like to make 2 points related to COP. First, we wholeheartedly support the 3 pillars of IRENA on the implementation of the global renewable energy target. It's very important that IRENA, next to the first pillar of tracking, is putting emphasis on the second pillar of raising ambition in NDCs and supporting member states to enhance and implement their NDCs, and the third pillar of supporting member states' implementation of the transparency reports. Second, we also support IRENA's interest in the enabling conditions for the energy transition, amongst which grids and creating flexibility on the grid. It's important to look at grid flexibility in broad terms and not only narrow it down to storage, as this is only one of the options to create flexibility. We wholeheartedly support your work in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Netherlands, for that submission. I think Belgium, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Mr. Director General, Excellencies. Belgium welcomes the progress report on the implementation of the work program and budget for 2024-2025. Belgium would like to congratulate the Director General for the task that has been given to the agency to monitor progress and provide recommendations on achieving a tripling of renewables and doubling of energy efficiency by 2030. These pledges are essential to keep us accountable on our move from ambition to implementation. In this context, and with respect to its mission, the agency should support members to implement the tripling pledge by offering technical assistance and capacity building programs tailored to countries' needs, to establish regulations and to enhance their renewable energy planning, deployment, and integration. Moreover, with its unique position and as almost universal platform, IRENA also offers a venue for exchange, where energy representatives from countries and regions can meet formally and informally, exchange on their respective concerns, share good practices. Among recent developments in the agency's work, we would like to welcome the setup of the Alliance for Industry Decarbonization and its publication, Solutions to Decarbonize Industrial Sectors, which will provide us with inspiring elements in this sector that is difficult to decarbonize, while maintaining competitive industrial activity. We would also like to support the continuation of work on the geopolitics of the energy transition, a crucial issue where the work provided by the agency has already largely contributed to nourishing our thinking. Before concluding, I would like to thank the agency for the work carried out within the framework of the voluntary contribution of the Walloon government. This work, which focuses on the establishment of a facilitating framework supporting the deployment of renewables in the members of Sub-Saharan Africa, is bearing fruit, and we hope to continue this collaboration in the future. As always, Belgium remains committed to working closely with IRENA and its members for the transition to a more sustainable, just, and inclusive energy future. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would like to now give the floor to the Director General to address the issues raised and provide overall reflections. Director General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank all the country that has intervened in this debate. First of all, thanks for all the appreciation for the work of the agency. It's very much welcome. And also thank for Dr. Nawal to remember the award that I have received in New York this year, was a great honor. I think the photo and the video of that occasion should be in our website. And this is naturally an award that I will share with all my people at the agency and with you, because this award was not possible without your continuous support. We have taken note of all your requests for improving our work and our capacity to work. They are all reasonable in my point of view, and we are ready to work to implement that. At the same time, I wish, it's something that I've did regularly in the last councils, to also to ask you for more. You know, we are in a very critical juncture concerning the management of the agency, because the agency was established around 13 years ago. Many of the personnel was hired at the time, and now in a very short time, a large part of the high post should be empty, because the people will be moving. So, and this will inevitably impact the capacity of the agency to provide all the services that you have requested. And I have not management flexibility to, I'd say, counteract on this situation. So really ask you, we have 2 days work to meet among yourself. I'm trying to be clear that this could be difficult for us to keep the quality of our work. All the people the people that lead the work on the tracking report will leave next year. The director, but not only the directors, but all the people that is behind the work in the agency. We can replace these people with the timing that is needed, and naturally there is also the time that they have to be able to provide the full support to the work of the agency. And I have not any instrument for flexibility in this context. So I really ask you to consider this. And believe me, is all in the behalf of the agency. And I will leave the agency the 4th April of 2027, and this will happen. And I wish to, in these 2 years, provide the maximum of my effort to raise the flag of the agency around the world. I think you have all appreciated the work that has been done, and I all wish to leave to my successor an agency that is completely in good health. So I really ask you to consider discussing by yourself how you can provide me some flexibility to deal with this particular circumstances. But you can, I always say from the first council that I and my people, we are here to serve you. So please pose us in the best condition to serve you more and better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General. I think it's been clear that the different countries do appreciate the amount of work which is being done by the agency, and the progress which has been achieved in ensuring that we all move towards a just energy transition. And it is important also, based on your submission, that you are properly equipped from a budgetary point of view and in human resource. And you have called for the need for some form of flexibility, which we hope will be submitted through Council for consideration. So do I take it that the Council takes note of the annual report of the Director General on the implementation of the work program, as well as the reports on the collaborative frameworks and interventions by members on these matters? Yes, I've seen the request for the floor by UAE. Have the floor, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do take note of the report and we have commented on it about at the PSC and just now, and we complimented the agency. I would like to remind the DG that he promised the assembly, he promised the council, few councils back, that he's not going to reopen the 10-year discussion. So we are extremely concerned that we keep hearing the same thing again and again. We just need to remind the DG that, as he mentioned, he did join the organization, a 10-year organization, a few years back. And the challenges related, what he is claiming to be the challenges related to the 10-year is not a surprise. So we would really beg the DG to say exactly what he just said now. And as members-driven secretariat, not to conflict with the secretariat not to conflict with the membership are asking him to do. So the membership has requested that we do not open the tenure conversation again, and we just proceed as per the rules and procedures. So we really hope that we don't get into this discussion that has no value for those meetings. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Noted. Thank you for that intervention. So do I take it that the council takes note of the annual report of the Director General on the implementation of the work program, as well as the reports of the collaborative frameworks and the interventions of the matters on these matters? I hear no objection. It is so decided. Do I also take it that council takes note of the report of the PSC chair contained in the document C/28 CRP/1 and the oral report of the AFC chair, and agree to the actions contained therein for follow-up, as well as interventions by members on this matter? I hear no objections. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration for item number 3 of the agenda. Distinguished colleagues, we have reached the end of our morning session. When we resume in 1.5 hours, we will continue with our agenda. I would like to inform the delegates that lunch for all in-person delegates will be served at Flavors Restaurant. The meeting is adjourned, and please join me at the podium for the family photo. Let's come and have the family photo.